Hello, everyone, and welcome to our interview series. This is my opportunity to sit down with some of the most interesting people in the world and not only share with you their background, but also talk about their journey. I'm excited today for our guest, Cody, for a couple of different reasons. I've known Cody for a while now, and we've been spending even more time together here in 2020 as Cody has, like many of us, been transitioning our businesses from offline to the online world. Cody does not only a great deal of classes and teaching and coaching, but because of COVID, Cody has also expanded into an amazing cooking series called Too Many Cooks. So I'm excited today to so many cooks, not too many cooks. Sorry about that. So many cooks that I'm so excited about not only telling everyone about this amazing series that is going to be available in multiple places. I don't want to give away all the spoilers yet. I'll let Cody share it with you. But also, I would love to kind of give everyone a little bit of background on where Cody comes from. Her journey, I think, is a very interesting one. And many of you who are maybe in states, in areas that are not as vegan friendly, but you found your way through, found your path through to not only kind of veganism, but plant-based and a whole foods plant-based diet, that I think Cody has not only a great story to tell, a great kind of experience, even professionally, that propelled Cody forward, but also has a great kind of story about where she is going next and all the great work that Cody is doing with her business, Wholistic Dish. So with that, let me just take a few minutes to welcome Cody to today's session.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you letting me be here today. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So why don't we ground everyone in our session today and give them a little bit of background just on you. So let's start with how long you've been vegan, and let's give everyone a little bit of taste of just your vegan journey first, and then we'll talk about your professional life as well.
Sure. Okay, so I've been vegan. It's been three and a half years now, and loving every day of it. And it's a very rewarding lifestyle for me. And my family is also vegan. My three little girls and my husband. I transitioned them about a year and a half ago. So it took about a good 2 years of convincing them, but once they made that transition, they've all been very excited, and they also promote it as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I love to hear when we have families on board. I think a lot of times when people are going vegan, it is a little bit of a solo mission in the beginning, but it's great to kind of talk about those transitions. Maybe before we get into the professional stuff, do you want to give anyone any insights on that transition, especially if anyone's in those shoes right now, any recommendations that you may have, especially when you're transitioning little ones?
Yeah, that's a great question because, once they make that commitment, I mean, it doesn't have to be like 100% right off the bat. You may have to kind of ease into it a little bit, which is what my husband did. And then he just kind of finally decided, yeah, I'm done with the animal products. My kids, it was a little bit easier. It's amazing how quickly they were able to transition. And I use those transitioned foods is what we call them. So like the tofurkey, for the sandwich meat, and we still use them occasionally, but back then we used it a little bit more frequently because they were bigger animal product eaters. And so those really helped, also just, kind of making some of the foods like the tofu with that like smokier flavor to kind of get some of those other flavors that we kind of grew up with, because we grew up, in a big meat eating family. We'd have bacon and eggs for breakfast. And nowadays I think that sounds horrible, but I mean, it's just the way we are now, but back then that was how we were raised, is that's your healthy breakfast. So, there's a lot of great substitutes out there, and I was just amazed how easily they actually transitioned. So,
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, those transition foods can really help
mhm.
at time because they can help with texture, you know what I mean, with kind of the expectations that we have about our foods. And then we can eventually get over to a more whole foods um, diet.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little about your professional background. Let's talk about, what in your professional background has kind of shaped you and also maybe shaped you on this journey.
So I've been a registered nurse for 18 years. And I started my nursing career as a surgical nurse. So it was about 8 years I did surgery. So, I mean, I was wearing a mask 40 hours a week, and actually helping out with cardiovascular surgery, heart surgery. Those are my specialties. I helped out with all different kinds, general surgery, breast surgery, plastic surgery, pretty much everything, colonoscopies. I kind of did everything and really enjoyed it. And open hearts was my specialty. That's where my passion lied. I loved seeing the heart and actually helping physically repair someone's heart, and to me, you just to know that, hey, they're going to be feeling better shortly.
Mhm.
Um, and that was, to me, was very rewarding at the time. And I still feel like that's a very rewarding profession, of course, surgical nursing, all of nursing, I feel is, and healthcare providers. And I love that path. And then I started teaching in about 2008 after I had my first daughter, Ava, became a nursing instructor, went back, got my master's degree. And I've been teaching ever since, part-time. So I juggle teaching nursing students Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, full days, and in the Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska areas, and really enjoy that. And so it was actually through teaching on one of my clinical rotations on a cardiac unit where I was taking care of a 20-some-year-old open heart patient. And I was like, how can we have a 20-some-year-old person that went through open heart surgery? That's just, to me, unheard of all these
Mhm.
years of dealing with heart patients. And so I started digging and did my own research, watching all these wonderful documentaries, right? And
Mhm.
verifying the research. And I was just like, why are we not talking about this? This is big news. We can actually prevent and manage and possibly reverse cardiovascular disease, among a lot of other chronic diseases. And so to me, I'm like, this is big news. We really
Mhm.
need to talk about this. And
Mhm.
so that's what really got me inspired to make that change, to be vegan, to be whole food, plant-based for my own health. I wanted to be healthy as an older woman down the road so I could play with my grandkids, hopefully someday, and hopefully to teach my children how to eat that way, which I did. And so anyway, I'm looking around. I'm like, I knew how to make the standard American diet meals, no problem, but I had to kind of get re-educated on how to eat the real, truly healthy way and to cook without the animal products. What are those substitutes that you had to do? I had to teach myself these things. And so then looking around the community, I'm like, if I have to do this, so many other people do too. And why can't I get some training to help other people out? And that's why I sought out the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine to become a Food for Life instructor. So
Mhm.
that way I could start my own business, the Wholistic Dish, to teach these cooking and nutrition classes. So that's my whole story pretty much in a nutshell, and that's my passion. And when I talk about whole food, plant-based, and how we can actually manage and prevent disease, I get so excited. I talk to my nursing students about it. I've transitioned nursing students, they're excited about it, so it just gets me motivated to keep doing it.
That's great. And I think what's really interesting about your background is that you saw it firsthand. You saw it like up front and personal. How many of us have seen a heart? How many of us have been that close to, to the organs that are really truly being damaged by the foods that we're eating. And I love how you not only started to go down the path of doing the research, but have really started to put yourself not only in the driver's seat personally and with your family, but with others by teaching people how to do this. I think one of the things that many of us, deep down inside, I think everyone wants to eat healthy, wants to, do the right thing, but sometimes it's hard to get there without a guide. So it's really exciting to hear that you're teaching and helping people, especially in communities that are communities that grew up with many of the animal products, that it's almost ingrained a little bit in the culture.
Mhm.
It's, you know what I mean? It's not just a preference, but it's something that people almost feel like they have to leave behind a little bit of that culture if they want to move forward in the
Mhm.
plant-based lifestyle.
Yeah, and to touch on that again, like you said, it's a culture, and I felt like I had to come out as a vegan to my family, and that was actually a really tough step for me. And to stick with my guns when we'd go to their house, they're 4 hours away, and bring my own food, because they still consume a lot of animal products, which is what the norm is. And yeah, it's hard. And, you kind of have to put on a brave front and just go with it and say, this is how I feel. I'm doing it for health and for, first of all, it was health for me, but now it's grown into, ethical, vegan, and environmental. It's just amazing how you just kind of start incorporating all these different aspects to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that you're teaching, walk us through kind of some of the classes that you're teaching, especially in this new environment. Maybe let's do a compare and contrast. I know a lot of people who were teaching classes were doing a lot of in-person classes. And
Mhm.
when the pandemic hit, we all had to change. We all had to kind of move into this online space. So maybe give us a little bit of a glimpse into kind of the in-person versus online and how you've been managing that with all the changes in 2020.
Yeah. So I actually had just completed my first uh, Food for Life series at a college that I teach nursing classes at, which is really exciting. I had administrators, I had faculty, I had students join, and we were all excited to get going on maybe another series. And then the pandemic came. So then it was like, okay, now what do we do? Because we were not actually approved and trained to do online cooking classes initially for Food for Life. So that was something that the physicians committee had to, I think, have a discussion on and said, yes, we're going to approve that you guys can do these online cooking classes. And so then most of us are like, well, that's great. How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Most of us have not done that before. And so it's like, okay, I'm just going to have to do it, right? If
Hmm.
this is my passion, I'm gonna have to do it,
Have to
and
push
so
through it.
yeah, so it's just like learning these different platforms. I was not really much on Facebook very much, but now I am, and that's something I really had to expand my horizon on, and I'm loving it. I'm getting connected with other Food for Life instructors and getting to know them, and I've done, let's see, they call them Cooking to Combat COVID series, because when you eat whole food plant-based, it can reduce your risks for cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, um, decrease weight. And so those were some of those risk factors for having a harder time with the COVID infection. So we did those series, and they were wonderful. I loved them. Now, I mean, I'm probably will be doing another one of those series down the road. But for October, I'm focusing on the Let's Beat Breast Cancer campaign. So I have 2 classes coming up then, and I'm really excited about that. So they're about a 2-hour class each, and looking at just ways to reduce your risk for breast cancer. And then actually, for those who've been through breast cancer treatment, it can actually reduce their chances of reoccurrence or reduce their risk of that if you eat whole food plant-based. So it's very powerful information, and I think it's very important to get that out there.
Absolutely, to get it out there. And also, because now these classes are online, there's a lot more flexibility where people can take these classes,
Hmm.
where they can take them at different times. I know for a lot of people, some of these are series, and sometimes you can get individual classes. I'm not sure if you're doing that for October, but one thing that I think has been really interesting about classes that have been moving into the online space, it seems like it creates a whole new level of accessibility for a lot of people. I don't know if you share that same feeling or think the same.
Yeah, definitely. So um, yeah, there's just, a lot of places, they don't want those big crowds. And so this is a way that we can do that. We can still get into the colleges, doing an online class. We can reach our students from the comfort of their own home, which is wonderful. So there's a lot of facilities, I think, that are seeking out these online opportunities. And I've been excited because I have been getting a lot of this online experience, and I can actually tell them, hey, I have some experience now. I feel more comfortable and confident to do these. So.
Perfect. Now let's touch on a little bit of what you said about Facebook and the idea that maybe weren't initially on there as much, you weren't using it before, and you kind of had to, make that mindset shift
Mhm.
to try something or do something new. So maybe give us a sense of, is there anything that you would like to maybe share to anyone who knows they should be on Facebook. They should be doing more and they're hesitating. They're worried. Something's holding them back. Do you have any recommendations on maybe one of the things that was one of your hurdles and you were able to overcome? And then a recommendation for anyone who is feeling a little bit stuck or a little bit shy, and what you would recommend or say to them to help them maybe take that leap?
Yeah. So, yeah, that first time, I mean, it was just like, okay, it just kind of hit me one of these evenings where I was like, gosh, what am I going to make for supper? And I was like, oh, I bet everybody else is wondering that too. Well, let me look. And I started pulling stuff out of my refrigerator. I'm like, oh, I got some kale and I got this and I got that. I'm like, I'll just throw together like a bootable salad, And I'm like, I wonder,
Mhm.
yeah, people are probably wondering this. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just make a video. I'm like, this will force me to do it. Right. So I just like,
Mhm.
okay, Stephanie's going to be so proud of me. Right. So I said, I set up my camera and I set out all my stuff and put on my Food for Life apron. And I mean, I wasn't looking perfect. Let me tell you, I had my hair pulled. I mean, I probably need to shower. I mean, yeah, it's horrible. But anyhow, I was like, I'm going to do it. Right. I'd rather just do it and go. Right. So I did
Mhm.
it. And it's funny because I started seeing like all these people viewing it. I'm like, oh, I think people are liking this. This is kind of crazy. And
Mhm.
so ever since that, I just kind of realized you're never going to be perfect on camera and it's okay. And, people want to see you just how you are. And if you have any tips and tricks and just like a busy weekday night on how to put together a healthy meal for your family, I think people would appreciate that. And so that was just kind of my thought to it, just to jump in there and go. And yeah, I'm not normally an outgoing person, so this was a big leap for me. And I feel like the more that I practice going live, the more comfortable I am with it. And I try to still do it, once or twice a week. And I'm trying to do a little variety. And in fact, I did kind of a crazy thing last weekend. My friend she's at the colon cancer task force, and she called me up a few days before this event on Saturday and said, hey, would you mind if I interview you so you can talk about nutrition and how to prevent colon cancer? And I was like, oh gosh, I'm like kind of nervous, but I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And she's like, I don't think there's going to be very many people at the event because it's just kind of just thrown in there right all of a sudden. I was like, okay, that's fine. And she's like, I can do it online, or if you want to come down, you can see this inflatable colon. And I'm like, oh, I got to see this, right?
The inflatable colon. I love that.
I'm like, I'm gonna risk it to go, right? So I got my mask and I went down there and I had so much fun. It was basically just me and her husband and maybe two other people, and we're social distancing and everything. But oh my gosh, I did a live video of this inflatable colon, and it was so incredible. And I just really feel like, the community really needed to be there to see that. That's what they brought it out for, is so you could see the cancer, formation in the colon in different stages and how important screening is. And then like I said, I talked about nutrition and how
Mhm.
effective you can actually, reduce your risk for colon cancer with just what you eat or what you don't eat. And that was such a great conversation. And the video turned out fun. I mean, and it wasn't perfect at all, you guys. Okay, let me tell you what happened. So I did it in the selfie mode, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that when it did that, it reversed any words that you had. And she had the colon was so nicely labeled at the different stages of cancer and the polyps and the diverticuli and everything. Well, I didn't realize, so when I was in my selfie mode and I'd show these pictures, that the words would be reversed. So I didn't see that until I got home and reviewed it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But then I was like, oh, well, it's okay. It's you know,
Mhm.
it's what everything else that mattered. So anyway, I just kind of put myself forward and did it and had a fun time. So
Oh, I'm so glad that you did that. And yeah, that happens to all of us, the mirroring effect on our phones. And the key is that we all recognize it. So even when it happens, everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's just mirrored. But, it's easy for us to feel the imperfections in our videos. But I find
Mhm.
that people really love it. And sometimes they like seeing those imperfections because it feels real, feels like we're real people.
Mhm.
So let's talk about what's next for Holistic Dish. We talked a little bit about the classes that are coming out in October. Anything else that you're planning or thinking about doing, or what's your kind of long-term vision for your business?
Oh goodness. So long term, I mean, I got all these great ideas. So I basically have to take it one idea at a time, or I'm going to get
Mhm.
overwhelmed. So basically, just keep doing classes, keep scheduling them, and keep that up, and just continue to educate everyone that is willing to listen. I don't ever want to force anybody to listen to what I have to say, but I am here to answer any questions and encourage anybody that does want to make any changes to improve their nutrition. And so, some things that I have been working on, as you know, is that so many cooks in the kitchen.
Mhm.
And that is on Facebook. I'm a co-producer of that, and it's been so much fun, very rewarding. It's a bunch of Food for Life instructors, and there's about 30 of us now. And every month we do a theme. So Saturday is our next one, and it's tofu.
Nice.
And yeah, and we do kitchen to kitchen. And I
Mhm.
think we're trying to get people across the world that are Food for Life instructors. We have a friend in Italy, and she does it every month with us. And then the rest of us are mostly in the US, but we're all across the US. And we just kind of hand the baton over into the next person's kitchen. And it's been so much fun. And Plant Based Network actually picked us up. So our show is going to be on there this week, I believe. And I'm excited. I'm in one of the first shows. And another fun thing that kind of spinned off from this is so Dilip and Ella and myself have kids, and we're all Food for Life instructors. And we're like, wouldn't it be fun to maybe get our kids together and do a cooking show for kids, to inspire other kids and parents, how easy it is to eat this way. And we did it, and we did it. It's called So Many Kids in the Kitchen. And it's on that same Facebook page as So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. And so our episodes are on there. We've done 3, and it's like we call it like a kids camp, and it was so much fun. Oh my goodness. So we had 5 kids cooking. Nora, my little one, my 4-year-old,
Mhm.
she kind of bombarded in there and steal food and all this stuff. And she was kind of a little comic relief as always. And but the kids, they had so much fun. They did their demonstrations, and then they handed over to the other set of kids. So Dilip's family is in North Carolina, and Ella's family is in New Jersey, and then my kids are in Omaha. So we just bounced around, and then we did like a live Q&A session. So whoever was watching this live Facebook could answer or ask questions, and then we'd answer them. Had the kids mostly answer them, and it was so much fun. And they're so honest. You never know what they're going to
Yeah,
say.
it's true. And it's live. So
I know. We're always taking the risk. I'm like, oh, don't tell me craziness.
But I think that's what people really enjoy and can really relate to, especially others that have kids or even nieces and nephews. And also, it's so good to show it from different perspectives, show kind of plant-based eating and how everyone internalizes it a little bit different and expresses it
Mhm.
a little bit different. So it's really great to hear about the show. And also, I mean, for anyone who is watching and anyone who's listening today, I highly recommend you take a look at the Facebook. It's a page, right? Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Facebook page, because not only is it nice to see the variety of Food for Life instructors, it's nice to see how everyone does things a little bit differently, how everyone teaches and has a slightly different style. And I feel like it not only allows us to like find ourselves in different instructors, but everyone kind of gives a little bit different tip or a little bit different perspective. So when you have these themes, which are really exciting, like tofu, you can see how everyone responds a little bit differently. The one that I watched was the one that you guys did on beans, I believe.
Mm.
And it
Yeah.
was really great to see how everyone's preparing beans a little bit differently in different ways and expressing it in different ways. And I really appreciate because not only do I think it just helps with the movement and it helps exposure and give people kind of an inside glimpse of what everyone's kitchen looks like and how everyone is kind of preparing. But I also think it's just a genius thing to put together because it helps us all feel a little bit more connected these days.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you felt with doing these types of shows. Has it helped you feel a little bit more connected in our slightly social distanced by design society now?
Oh, definitely. And, I've spent a lot of time with these other Food for Life instructors, and I feel like I've dearly become good friends with a lot of them. We chat, we message each other, and just have great talks. And I learn so much from each and every one of them with, like you said, they're great tips. I mean, I would have never thought about doing some of these things, and they're, talking about it, showing it. I'm like, oh, I love that. And so I'm always pulling different things from their tips and tricks, and I just love it. And we share recipes, and that's what's great too. We provide the recipes, the documents of it, so people can print them off, and they could cook along with us if they wanted to. Especially for the so many kids, we try and give that one out, I think, the day before. So if the parent wanted to go get some recipes and have them prepped, or some ingredients and then have them prepped, then their kid could cook along with our kids. And I guess there's so many cooks in the kitchen, we kind of post that, I guess, the morning before, or the morning of, sorry, of our event. But it's just great. We're just feeding off of each other's energy and loving it. And like, oh, I like what you did with your kitchen, and look at that. And it's so much fun. And afterwards we have a fun discussion and hang out for a little bit too, just to kind of, talk about how it went and ask about each other's families and stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
I love that. I think right now we forget how important it is for us to still connect with each other, to still use the technology to help drive these connections, to make sure that we're all kind of working together, collaborating. Because I think when we think about running our businesses, a lot of times we get in our own little lane and we forget how much inspiration we can get from others by just spending time with them, connecting with them, even like you said, just getting to know each other a little bit more
Mhm.
and using tools like Facebook and so forth to drive that. We just got a love shout out from Patricia. She was saying that she, loves the information you're sharing. And she was just saying, thanks for sharing your experience and your inspiration. So I just wanted to make sure you saw that
Thank you.
before we wrap up today. So as we're wrapping up today, anything else that you want to share with people, especially as they're thinking about kind of eating a little bit better, eating a little bit healthier? Maybe they're looking for an instructor to help them guide them on their path. Anything you want to kind of share as people are trying to do more, eat better moving forward? And then also, if you can give everyone your contact information if they'd like to follow up with you after this segment.
Yeah. So, eating better, I mean, just any step in the right direction, especially being in my community, the less animal products that you have in your diet, the healthier that you'll be. And that's proven through research. And that's, like I said, initially why I got into it was for health reasons, because it's proven to be the healthiest way to eat to prevent, manage, and possibly reverse a lot of disease processes. So, like I said, cardiovascular disease is, close to my heart, literally, because of being a heart nurse. And, type 2 diabetes, obesity, all those things. And with the rise in the childhood obesity rates, that's another thing that's close to my heart, because I have little kids, and, they're still serving processed meats in the school system. And
Mhm.
that, I feel like that's key to address. And I would love to be on some type of task force to help out with that process of getting those out of the school system. Because as we know, processed meats are, can cause cancer, increase your risks greatly. So um, let's see. Oh, goodness. Trying to think of what else. So yeah, just starting to, you can transition pretty easily, and gradually if
Mhm.
you want, or you can just go, cold turkey, so to speak, right? That's how
Yeah.
I did it. And that's also a good way too, but you do need to plan ahead. You need
Mhm.
to hopefully have support in your household. That's very helpful. And if you're in the Omaha community and you want support from me, I'm more than happy to be that support person for you. Because if you're doing it alone in your family, nobody else is on board, you need somebody to be your cheerleader, someone to talk to, someone to help you out with recipes and substitutions. And I'm more than happy to do that because I know what it's like to be alone in that. And it's hard. Okay, so I'm here for you. And you can find me at Wholistic Dish. I have a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. And if you'd like to email me, I'm at cstubbe@wholisticdish.com. And my website's still in the progress, Stephanie. So, but that will be at wholisticdish.com eventually for my website.
Absolutely. And people can get in contact with you on Facebook and on Instagram in the meantime. And just like all of us, we build our businesses step by step, brick by brick. So I'm glad you have the website and everything secured. So people can bookmark it now and they can always come and check it out later. So I'm really, really excited to have you today. We just had a shout out from Eric. Eric was saying, let's get all those processed meats and dairies out of the school.
Yes.
So I appreciate not only, Eric, your comment there, but I'm glad you touched on that today because I know a lot of people are concerned about that and concerned about the foods that are fed to our little ones out there. So thank you once again, as always, for spending some time chit-chatting with me. Thank you so much for taking the time to kind of share with everyone what's been your experience, how you've been navigating 2020, and also giving them a little bit of background on your journey. I'm hoping that has inspired some of our listeners today. We've already seen a couple people say that they've been inspired by you. So I think that is so wonderful. And I'm sure many more that are watching this as a replay are as well. If you're watching this as a replay, please feel free to post a comment if you have any questions for myself or for Cody. We will make sure that question gets over to Cody, as well as we love the love. So feel free to give us a like or a heart or a thumbs up, no matter what platform you're in, because it's a great way for us to know that you're appreciating and loving these interviews as much as I am as well. So thank you everyone for watching us and joining us live, and we will see you in our next interview. Bye, everyone.